Louisville football went on the road as a touchdown favorite to Boston College for a Friday night game. It was another one of these let's get right games. The Cardinals were trailing 20-0. There were concerns that the team was done, that it was quit, that it was over, that the season was finished. Not so fast. By the end of the game, Louisville, the victor, 31-27, coming home 5-3, improving to 3-2 in the ACC. A lot of report card to get through. A lot of likes, a lot of dislikes. What do you say we hike about it? Usually I'm at a college football game on a Saturday. And usually my calendar doesn't open up, especially with great weather, to go out and enjoy a hike on a Saturday in the bluegrass during the autumn season. With Louisville playing at Boston College on Friday night, picking up that big W, my calendar did just that. Perfect weather, colors were perfect. I hit an hour and 40 minutes southeast of Louisville. Berea, Kentucky, the Pinnacles, Berea College Forest. Places on the to-do list include Bluegrass Overlook, Rock House, Devil's Kitchen, Buzzard Roost, West Pinnacle. I think we should go check some spots out. And of course, dish out some grades, talk a little Louisville football. What a great place to do it. Berea, Kentucky. At the Pinnacles, talking Louisville football. Let's go. So there's some likes and dislikes to get together. There's quite a bit to dislike. There's quite a bit actually to like. But disliking obviously the terrible start offensively. So those first 5 possessions by the offense, I mean, from turnovers, missed long field goals, turnover on downs, I mean, it was just a series to forget. And while they're stumbling through those 5 series, you know, with their turnovers, Boston College is capitalizing. And before you know it, down 20-0. This team doesn't seem like it can get off to a hot start altogether at the same time. Struggles with the special teams as well. So while the defense got off to a better start, although they did have their struggles, especially in the first half, the offense just came stumbling out of the gate. Didn't like that at all. Got behind 20-0 and pressure was on. The leaves are a-changin'. And that leads me to something that I do like. From as bad as the first half was, the second half was equally better. And what I like is I understand that at halftime things were kind of calm. People seemed confident. They weren't alarmed. They weren't screaming. That it was somewhat of a more subdued halftime than you might have expected. And the response was they came out businesslike. Offense quit turning it over, got into a rhythm, started putting points up on the board. Defense made stop after stop after stop. Only allowing 1 touchdown after the break. So yeah, there's some things to like, especially in that second half. Something else I like. I always love pulling for the underdog, or in this case, a walk-on wide receiver Chris Hughes, taking advantage of an opportunity, coming away with 3 catches. Love seeing the in-state invited walk-on making something out of the moment. Something that I really didn't like. We've heard a recurring theme for a few weeks about fixing ourselves, speaking of Louisville football, about things where they're shooting themselves in the foot with penalties or communication problems or alignment issues or whatever the case may be, scheming, all of it, basically. We've been hearing it for a few weeks. And so coming in to the Boston College game, knowing they had a mobile quarterback in Thomas Castellanos, but knowing that on both sides of the ball, it's a team that Louisville should be able to be the better team than. You came out, Boston College comes out with the ball. The defense gets them off the field real quick. Things look like they're about to start taking a turn. Maybe what we've been hearing about the changes, which included moving Ron English from the booth down to the field. After that first defensive series, okay, maybe things are turning here a little bit. Offense comes out, they're stumbling their toes, putting the defense in some difficult situations, and you have those 2 fourth down absent-minded moments, absolute breakdown of communication, not understanding the moment, there has been a recurring theme for this defense especially, and not always, as noted by the second half, which hopefully is a nice spark for the direction that things are going to come. But there's been more often than not, it sure feels like that when there is a big moment on the line, like here's an opportunity where Louisville can get back into the game, get themselves to where they could take the lead, build on a lead, whatever the big moment may be. More often than not, it seems like the defense has been a consistent egg on the face moment. Those fourth down miscues, to be nice, are evidence of that. But again, they did bounce back in the second half and play much better. But what I don't like is that after week after week after week, and admittedly stepping down in competition level, not to degrade Boston College, a good opponent, it's certainly not the number one offense in the country, and that Louisville saw against Miami, expected a lot more immediately. And even though there were improvements getting to the quarterback and things like that, although you only got one sack, they did get consistent pressure. When you have blown assignments or such horrible communication between sideline and guys on the field, that continues to be a consistent thing. Hopefully the second half is a reflection of what we're going to be seeing moving forward, but certainly the competition jumps significantly higher with the trip to Clemson now on deck. So the Cardinals need to be able to shift out of that let's fix it mode, let's stop shooting ourselves in the foot mode, and get it into fourth, fifth, and sixth gear and start cruising. Those are some things I don't like, but I do like the direction that things seem to be turning in the second half. Something that I like, and something that has been brought up on these Let's Hike multiple times, is that this team has a no-quit mindset. You certainly saw that against Boston College. I like that I hear that the halftime wasn't something about getting in their faces and trying to fire them up, and maybe a little bit of that happened, but it wasn't a berating thing, but it was more of a calm, confident type of demeanor is what I'm told during the halftime amongst the team. And that seemed to resonate throughout the second half. There didn't seem to be any panic. They came out offensively, started to click, stopped shooting themselves in the foot so much. Defensively, buckled down. So really continue to like that no-quit mindset for this team. And again, 3 losses by a touchdown each to 3 teams in the top 25, 2 in the top 15. I mean, so not to mention they've been dealing with a lot of injuries. So I do continue to like this no-quit mindset of the team. They don't seem to they're not ready to give up. Proved just the opposite of what we were thinking during the first half, that they might be giving up. We learned that, hey, they're not giving up. I like that a lot. The decision to attempt the 56-yard field goal early in the first half, didn't like that. Too big of a risk, if I could speak properly, with little reward. It's easy to kind of just toss it out now that the Cardinals came home from Boston with a W, but just didn't like the risk-reward challenge there. Obviously, if you make it, it's a spark. If you don't, you gave Boston College a short field. Didn't like that decision, but I guess you do have to applaud the gutsy attempt and the desire to create a spark. So it's not a complete dislike. Just like the steep hill that I am currently on, that's what Louisville faced in the second half. And with the offense finally starting to click and not turning it over, it needed the defense to step up its game. And the defense did that. Well done, defense. I like that a lot, especially in the fourth quarter when you only allowed 1.8 yards per rush attempt. I like that a lot. So there's a few likes and dislikes. We could continue in both directions, but how about I start dishing out some grades? Let's get to the report card, shall we? As always, we begin with the quarterbacks. Tyler Shuck was 28 of 38 for over 300 yards, had a couple touchdown tosses, also threw a couple interceptions, a costly one, especially in the first half, led to a Boston College score. Outside of that, he continues to have that calm demeanor that you want. Completed over 70% of his passes. And outside of the few mistakes, had another solid game for the Cardinals and helped the Cardinals again come down and score in the fourth quarter to complete a comeback. Overall grade for the performance at Boston College, the quarterbacks get a B. Running backs, and once again Isaac Brown's your feature back for the Cardinals, and once again Isaac Brown has himself a nice game. Rushed for 85 yards, 2 touchdowns, averaged 4.7 yards per carry. Also involved in the passing game, catching balls out of the backfield. Duke Watson, Don Chaney also getting involved a little bit in the ground game. The Cardinals, your rushing game against Boston College, I'll give you a B+. Wide receivers, Ja'Cory Brooks, again, season high 8 catches, 120 yards. Unbelievable one-handed catch that was, highlight reel spots of the night on ESPN. As I mentioned before, walk-on Chris Hughes getting involved with 3 catches. Amari Huggins-Bruce, 5 catches. Did have the costly fumble that resulted in points for Boston College, but outside of that, really solid day for the receivers. You didn't negate that fumble, and you didn't miss your wide receiver and Colin Lacey. Wide receivers, you get an A for your play against Boston College. Tight ends. I think you're going to get your best grade of the season thus far, if I'm able to recall my grades correctly. Mark Redmond, 4 catches for 40 yards. Nate Kariski, 2 touchdowns, both 2 catches, both going for touchdowns. Big touchdowns, including the late one to give Louisville the lead on the 4-yard reception from the Tyler Shuck pitch. Tight ends, for your performance against Boston College, I'm going to dish you out an A. Offensive line certainly took a nice step forward than they have been in recent weeks. The return of Monroe Mills to the starting lineup, certainly a nice boost to the group. Jonathan Mendoza, who's been starting all year long, did not start, only saw 19 snaps. But as a group, looked like they all took a positive step from their recent outings. Hopefully Austin Collins can come back to the group when they travel to Clemson next weekend. But for the overall performance against Boston College, I see it as a positive, and I'm going to give them a B. Defensive line. Again, kind of a tale of 2 halves. Much better in the second half. Not too bad, actually, for the defensive front in the first half. Ashton Gelati, about the most active I have seen him this year. Tied for team high with 9 tackles, including 2.5 for a loss. Nice outing by him. Jordan Garrard, also a nice outing. Graded out the highest. Got a little dinged up. Jared Dawson got the team's only sack. Got to have better than that, but they were able to get consistent pressure on Thomas Castellanos, the quarterback of Boston College, for their performance against Boston College, which included helping shut them down for the most part during the second half to allow that offensive comeback to happen, to allow the team comeback to happen. For their performance against Boston College, defensive line, you're getting a B. Linebacker Stanquan Clark graded out the best per PFF, but his grade did come down a bit for a few missed tackles. TJ Quinn tied Ashton Gelati for team high with 9 tackles. Very active game for him as well, but you do have to put some of the blame for a couple of those 4th down, wide open plays that resulted in touchdowns, you have to put some of that on the linebackers as well. And you have to consider both halves when you're dishing out grades, certainly. Linebackers for the performance against Boston College, B-. Devil's Kitchen here at the Pinnacles. Defensive backs. I think everybody was ready to say a lot of mean things to the defensive back, especially a few times there in the first half. But you really got to credit them for sticking with it, just like the rest of the defense as well as the offense, and not giving up. Second half, nice performance by the secondary. But let's first think back to that first half. A couple fourth down plays. Receiver ends up wide open. That's just inexcusable mistakes right there. And that has to be a collection of both, or a mix of both, player responsibility as well as coach responsibility with communication, alignments, etc., etc. A continued theme. But as I mentioned, in the second half, things certainly improved. It was probably the best game of the season for Quincy Riley thus far. He ended up with 4 tackles, a couple pass block ups. Antonio Watts graded out the best player in the secondary from his safety spot. Includes a tackle for a loss and a pass breakup as well. Tayon Holloway had a nice play, but again, there were some not nice plays from the secondary as well. But overall, considering especially, you really got to kind of need to give a curve because of the performance in the second half for the entire defense. And I'm feeling a little giving. Secondary, we're going to give you a B. Special teams. Brock Travelstead, 1 of 2 on field goals, missing an early 56-yard field goal attempt that I wasn't a big fan of the decision to try that, but ended up not costing the game, so kudos for attempting to find a spark. Punting was rather woeful. A couple short ones, including one in the fourth quarter that could have been costly for the Cardinals. The highlight of the special teams with the kickoff returns of Isaac Brown and Duke Watson. Overall, special teams. Your play against Boston College, getting a C+. So the final grade for the coaching staff, clearly not an easy one. Early in that first quarter, that second quarter, first half, things were not good. Jobs seem to be on the line. And even though you come away with the win, all is not fixed. There are certainly the areas that need to continue to be improved on both sides of the ball. No question about it. But we saw that in the second half. No question about that as well. The fourth down miscues are things that just can't happen. And those are kind of an echo of things we've seen game after game after game in recent weeks. That's a big ding because that's big moments where, again, the Cardinal defense was not able to come up with a big play. In fact, came up with a "hi, we're not even here" type play. Easy touchdowns, go ahead. Those type of plays cannot happen. Teams are going to get big plays. They cannot get big plays because of that. But the coaches kept the team focused, carried a confidence about themselves as well. Their halftime adjustments, discussions, motivations all seemed to work. And again, the Cardinals came away with a big W. Overall, the coaching staff, as ugly as a few moments were, again, the end is what's important, and you got that W. Coaching staff from what was about to be an F early in that game, you turned it around. Just like your team, you're going to get a good grade. Not that great. B- for the performance and the W at Boston College. Right trend in that second half. Let's keep it up. Overall, offensively, I want to give you a B+, but I can't get over the first half miscues that allowed the team to get behind 20-0. Obviously, the defense did their job in that as well. But instead of a B+, we're just going to give you a B. Really impressed with the mindset, the confidence, and the ability to come back once again and pick up a road win in the ACC. So again, a flat B for the offense in the win at Boston College. Defensively, the overall grade for the defense. Again, you can't forget those fourth down scores. Those are things that should not happen. And again, you can put the blame on the coaches. You can also put the blame on the players. Should not happen. Big moments need to become big moments consistently for the Louisville defense. And those were two opportunities that really, again, got egg on their face. Can't have that. Got to be consistent. Again, you can give up some big plays, but make them earn it. Don't just say, here you go. We're not even going to be there. Can't have that. On the flip, did lock down, become much tougher as the game wore on. Better in the second quarter than the first, better in the third than the second, and so on. Best quarter was in the fourth, when it needed to be. Overall, defense, your grade against Boston College, B-. Do you feel like I applied a curve, like they got the W curve to the grades? I kind of feel like I might have gone a little light in some areas on my final grades, but at the same time, you can't undervalue the win. You can't undervalue the comeback. To overcome a 20-point deficit on the road, that's significant. So I guess if I'm torn in both directions, I think I did about right. Let me know what you think. Did I go a little light? Maybe you think I went a little heavy-handed. You tell me. While you're telling me, down in the comments, or at cardinalauthority.com, go ahead and give the video a like. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't done so. If you have, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks again for going hiking with Michael McCammon, nearing mile 7 here in the Pinnacles in Berea, Kentucky. Report card a little better than the last one. Let's hope that's a trend in the right direction as Louisville now faces, again, number 9 Clemson in Clemson. Death Valley, huge opportunity, big challenge. We will dish out a report card and discuss what happens. Will the positive trend continue? Let's hope so. Thanks again for going hiking with Michael McCammon.